It's very interesting in the field of technology how sometimes we begin to live with the technology and we never think beyond that. It becomes so normal that you just say, oh, this will never change, or how could you ever foresee a change coming with a specific technology? Well, we've entered upon an era where that major change is beginning again. And that major change is related to social media. And it's very interesting how so many things can affect these trends and change these trends. In this video, I'm going to talk about two of the up and coming of millions and millions of users migrating from platforms like Facebook and Twitter. And I'm going to tell you about those in this video today. Let's get going. First off, the two companies are called MeWe and Parler. These are two social media platforms that have actually been around for some time. Now, you may or may not have heard of them because they just became very popular in the last few weeks. Both of them operate on a different fundamental basis, such as that of Facebook or Twitter. And my expectation is that these two platforms are going to evolve. So let's take a brief look at MeWe. Your private life is not for sale, no ads, no spyware, no BS. So that's their claim. Now, why would a platform come out with a claim like that? Well, in terms of competition, if we think about Facebook, for example, and all the legal proceedings and everything that occurred over the years in terms of private information being used, generally speaking, with the consent of the user not being aware of or not knowing, there was a lot of legal proceedings which you can look up and research. And MeWe is claiming something different, more privacy, no spyware, no ads. Now you might ask yourself, how does a company like this make money if there's no advertising? Because that's primarily how social networks make money, meaning how they pay their employees, how they pay their bills, how they keep their computers running. Well, my understanding is MeWe and Parler have a influencer-driven effect, meaning that their income is going to be based on influencers, and those are causing an influence in industry. You know, when I refer to an influencer, I mean someone who is in front of millions, hundreds of thousands or millions of people throughout the world. So it's a little bit of a different approach as opposed to Facebook, where a user can go buy advertising and pay to promote, and target markets see that advertising. Let's take a look at Parler's homepage. Speak freely and express yourself openly without fear of being deplatformed for your views. Engage with real people, not bots. Parler is people and privacy focused and gives you the tools you need to curate your Parler experience. Well, a parlor is, a room for gathering. This was a name for a room for gathering in homes, and I don't think it's used that much anymore. But again, we go back to Facebook as the best example, and Twitter is also an example of this. But when we think about bots, right? Automatic systems that determine what's going to be posted and what's not going to be posted. Automatic systems that remove content. Now you can probably see where, again, these two companies are really competing with Facebook and Twitter. And the general idea, from my understanding and my usage and research of these two platforms, they are taking off like a rocket. Millions of users have migrated to these platforms in the last few weeks. Dropping Facebook, dropping Twitter. What will the future hold for MeWe and Parler? I do not know exactly. But I can tell you, when a brand or an organization, social media platform like Facebook or Twitter, starts losing its following, this is where we see the beginning of a new era, the beginning of a new trend in technology. It doesn't mean that Twitter and Facebook are going to go away, but I guess from a buyer's standpoint, from a consumer standpoint, it kind of cheapens Facebook. It kind of makes Facebook feel old, kind of makes Twitter feel a bit old, because these companies are taking all the things that made those platforms for that specific user base that's migrating over, not everybody. For that specific user base, it became uncomfortable. Again, this is from my own research and study of seeing everything that was going on between Facebook, Twitter, whether it's politically driven or religiously driven or educationally driven or something else. But my personal opinion, I don't have enough experience with either of these platforms to know the full benefits of them yet. But what it comes down to, what I distilled out of researching and using these interfaces, is that a consumer can feel like they can communicate a message or say what they want to say politically or religiously or educationally or medically or whatever it is, these really hot topics, and can communicate about that freely without the platform interfering. I guess you could say these platforms are taking it more to a constitutional level. I'm not an attorney, I'm just referring to First Amendment, the freedom of expression, freedom of speech, generally speaking, being able to communicate what one wants. But ultimately, the company, such as Facebook or Twitter, have the right to stop or block content. They're for-profit companies. I don't know where either of these platforms are going to end up. I highly recommend, if you are a dental practice, which is the field I primarily work in, helping dental practice do marketing, I highly recommend that one or several of your staff get acquainted with these. If you are doing social advertising, if you are promoting on social media, not because you agree with all the people that went to these platforms, but really for the purpose of finding out are these going to be an advertising medium for you? Do you want to get your profiles built up? Is this going to be a business source for you? Is this your target market? That's the value that I see, and that's the value in knowing and following and being in tune with these. A Parler like MeWe, I should say, your data is never going to be sold. And they have what's called and enforced by a community jury. So this is more, instead of, for example, Facebook or Twitter, what we generally see is them making the decision that their bots, their algorithm making decision if content is false or true or false. Whereas these platforms are leaning more towards the community saying, hey, no, we disagree with this, or we agree with this. And that's how content will be pushed or moved or removed in various ways. So it's a very interesting, again, these companies primarily took where the argument about Facebook, where they were lacking in terms of some consumers, many millions of consumers in the United States, and they took that and said, well, you know what, let's do things differently. Just like every other successful technology in the history, the question was, how can we take this and make it better and make it new and make it fresh so that it's a new experience, and it could be a 5, 10, 20, 30-year runway with one of these, just like Facebook. That's all I have for you today. Jason Wydro here with Golden Dental Marketing and Wydro Media. Thank you for watching. You have a great day.